In the last episode of Weapon History, we covered the MG15 NA machine gun, a weapon that Germany originally deployed in small numbers to troops mainly based on the Eastern Front during World War I. This week we're sticking with machine guns, but we're switching nation over to France and discussing a weapon that saw use, but not just by them. This week on Battlefield 1 Weapon History, we're taking a look at the Hotchkiss M1909 machine gun. And as with all the other episodes, before we jump into the history, we're going to take a look at the weapon first in Battlefield 1. The M1909 light machine gun is a weapon available to the support class, and it comes in 3 different variants: the Storm, the Telescopic, and the Optical. Now, each of these 3 variants are unlocked at different support class ranks, with the Storm being unlocked for you at rank 0, it's basically your starter weapon, the Telescopic at rank 1, and the Optical at rank 3. The weapon itself is probably not the most popular choice to be picked in the support class. With the introduction of the Chauchat in the French DLC and other base game options like the BAR, the 1909 is not the most aggressive weapon in the lineup, shall we say, but if you learn how to use it effectively, you really can dominate players with it. The 1909 comes with a standard 23 maximum damage and 19 minimum damage. That's applied across all LMGs in the base game. Only the Chauchat, which is our DLC support weapon, comes in higher than that. But where I think most people write this weapon off before they've even started is the rate of fire. Just 450 rounds a minute. The 1909 is pretty slow at getting bullets down the barrel, but this weapon has a few tricks up its sleeve, ones that make it a very attractive choice when used in the right way. Firstly, the 1909 is a relatively easy weapon to control. The Storm variant, for example, only has a 0.19 upwards pull and a 0.096 pull to the left and the right. That translates into very easy to manage recoil, and that's lower than the other 2 variants, which aren't that much higher. You can virtually negate it with a few minutes of practice with the mouse or your thumbstick. That extremely flat recoil translates to predictable bullet direction, so medium to long range gunfights become much easier for you to engage in. Next, the bullet velocity. On the 1909, it's 820 meters a second. That complements long range accuracy really nicely. You won't need to be leading targets all that much, and if you're using the Telescopic variant, that one comes with a higher powered optic sight, you're pretty much laughing. And finally, the Optical variant runs with a foregrip and a red dot iron sight that's seen on some other weapons as well, and that makes a nice option to engage slightly longer targets at. But it also comes with the added benefit of less bullet spread per shot overall, and that means you can have more confidence that the bullets are going where you're aiming. And when you're looking to take somebody down who's a little bit further out, that stat will really favour you. But with all that control and that long-range accuracy, there of course has to be some downsides. That 450 rounds per minute rate of fire is certainly one of them, and that leaves much to be desired at close range. If you come across any other support player, you're likely to be beaten, and assault players will have the jump on you with their SMGs and shotguns. The 1909 is best suited to a player who doesn't mind sitting on the edge of the action, prepared to pepper targets far off and help thin out those advancing numbers of enemies that are moving forward. However, is the Hotchkiss M1909 in Battlefield 1 anything like its real counterpart? Has DICE given an accurate representation of this light machine gun, or have they bent the rules a little bit? Let's find out. The Hotchkiss M1909 machine gun was jointly designed in 1901 by Lawrence Benet and Henry Mercier, and it was manufactured by Hotchkiss, as the name might suggest, in 1909, as the name might suggest. The design of the weapon, as was common in those days, was adopted by a few other nations as well, including the USA and Britain. It was fed by strip magazines. See that big horizontal bar sticking out the side? Yeah, that's how ammo was fed into the weapon. The 8mm Lebel round, which the weapon was originally designed for, didn't really do so well during automatic fire, so this solution allowed a steady fire rate to be achieved. The original Hotchkiss, the French model, was adopted into their armed forces in 1909, the year it was produced, and roughly 700 of the guns were made. Many of them were actually used to protect the fortresses of Verdun. They were designated as defensive weapons. It was intended to be a handheld light machine gun, but in the end, it was found to be much too heavy for one soldier to operate it alone during combat. The British variant of the machine gun was adapted to use the then common .303 British round, but it was still produced at a Hotchkiss factory, this time located in the UK in a place called Coventry. Named the Hotchkiss Mark I initially, it was given to various cavalry units, and a second version, the Mark I Star, dropped the wooden stock, replaced it with a pistol grip, and was more commonly found in British tanks during the war. The American variant, officially named BENET MERCIE Machine Rifle, caliber 30, US model of 1909, I know that's an extremely catchy name, as you might have guessed, was rechambered to use the 30-06 Springfield round, and it was produced in small numbers by Colt and the Springfield Armory. They were essentially seen as weapons that replaced the older Gatling machine guns that had been in service before them. Now, all of these different variants do have slightly different characteristics. Obviously, they fire different rounds, and they have different designs. I put up pictures here on the screen at the top there, and you can see each one and how different they are from each other. They aren't massive differences, but it's easy to tell which nation's weapon it was. Now, the Hotchkiss served among the Allies all the way through the First World War, but its inclusion in most nations' armories was pretty much overshadowed by newer inventions and homegrown weapons. For the British, the Lewis gun was their main light machine gun. Moving into later stages of the war, the US had developed the Browning automatic rifle, and that came over in 1918 with the American Expeditionary Force, and even the French brought in a new light machine gun called the Chauchat. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with that by now. The weapon was adapted to eventually feed from belt-fed ammunition, and that's perhaps why its use sustained into World War II. This image here shows a machine gunner on a vessel in the Atlantic aiming a Hotchkiss 1909 in 1942. I think this is the British Mark I Star model. You can see the metal stock pushing into his shoulder there, and I think he's holding onto a pistol grip. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is a British 1909. And its bigger brother, the M1914 stationary machine gun, made it into World War II as well. This image here shows British soldiers firing a captured 1914 gun in Normandy in 1944. The weapon certainly had a legacy, and it really served as a bridge gap for many nations during a time where they were all developing and perfecting their own weapons instead of using other nations. So then, has DICE accurately represented the weapon in Battlefield 1, or have they bent the rules a little bit to make sure it's a fun weapon to use? Well, considering all the pictures I've shown you and all the information I've just read off, you might think this is well represented. But there is one defining factor for me that stops it being perfect. The weapon in-game models that of the original M1909 made in France, but instead of firing the 8mm Lebel, it fires the 30-06 Springfield round, essentially combining the French and the American models together and setting it as an American weapon. That adds even more emphasis to the Chauchat being the true French light machine gun in Battlefield 1. From the start, I thought because of the name, BENET MERCIE, it was a French weapon. But because of those caliber changes, this has to be an American one. I'm not sure if it was intentional by DICE to get those mixed up, or whether they did it on purpose, so it is an American weapon in the game. I don't think we're ever gonna know. But one thing's for sure, that makes it fairly unique in Battlefield 1. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learnt something today. Let me know what you think of the Hotchkiss M1909 down in the comments. And don't forget to let me know what weapon you'd like me to cover next on Battlefield 1 Weapon History. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.